This is a quick little video to show you how you can create little flower spiral type quilting motifs, and they could also be used for creating Freemotion couching designs, this same technique. Now, I recently did a Zoom meeting all about Freemotion couching, and at the end we did a quick design. I'll just show you a photo. So this design here was done in a very similar technique, only I used the spiral morphing tool in the embroidery canvas to create this shape, but I could have created the shape a similar shape in art canvas and then had it convert directly. So if you're interested in Freemotion couching at all, I'll put a link below to the recorded version. You can purchase the recorded version of the meeting with all the PDF notes and the video, and you can find out how I did this technique. Plus there's also another little bird design I created in that same lesson. So I'll put a link below to that if you're interested. But at the moment I just want to show the art canvas technique. So we want some sort of shape that's got lots of points on it, and so a star is the obvious one. And we have a star shape creator in our art canvas, and that's in our toolbox, and you probably have a rectangle showing there. There's a fly out menu, so by default the rectangle shows, but if you click on the fly out menu you can find the star and select that one, and then your cursor becomes a star. And to create a proportional star, which is what we want, we're just going to hold our control key down, left click and drag and drop. Now I've got an 8-pointed star here, and you decide how many points up here on the top menu. Now I find this technique works best with an 8-pointed star. Your next option is 12 or 16, because if you have an odd number of points like 5 or 7, it won't stay symmetrical and it won't look as pretty, but by all means you can play around with that. Now a star is a shape, so it doesn't have the same options for reshaping as a normal curve line. If you look in your object manager on the right, if you've got that in your dockers, then you can see that we have a star here. It doesn't say the word curve, it says star. It's a shape. I'll just show you by going to the Reshape tool that if you go to the Reshape tool of a shape, it's limited in what you can do. But one thing you can do is left click on any one of the nodes and drag it in or out, and that will shorten or increase the length of the points. Keeps the star the same size. I'm going to leave it on the default. Now you can do that also if you're in the select tool by coming up here and next to the number 8 you've got a number here which can be increased or decreased, and that will if you increase it, it will make the points longer, and if you decrease it, it will make them shorter. I think it was on 53. That'll be close enough. Okay, now while I'm in here too, I've also got hairline chosen for the length of the line. That's because hairline converts beautifully to a single running stitch. So, sorry, when you create your star, just make sure you've got hairline up here. If not, you can choose it from the drop down menu. Okay, so apart from that, we can't do much else with this star, even in the Reshape tool. So we need to change it to a curve so we've got more control over the nodes. So we're going to, while it's selected, right click on the inside the object and we'll get a pop-up menu, and we've got an option to convert to curves. So now when we look in our object manager, it says it's a curve. It no longer says it's a star. And if we go to our Reshape tool, we can see we've got nodes on the points as well as on the insides now, and each of those nodes can be individually adjusted. I'll just undo that. So the other thing that we should note now, that even though we've changed the object to curves, the nodes have they're either a line segment node or a curve node. And we can tell that by looking up here. So at the moment you can see that this little line here is grayed out. That means that that node is a line segment node already. I can't convert it to a line segment node. It's already a line segment node. I can, however, convert it to a curve node. Now I want them all curve nodes, so I'm not going to do it yet because I want them all selected. So what I'm going to do is box select all the nodes, and then if I click on the curve node option, you can see now the line segment option is not grayed out anymore. The curve node option is grayed out, which means it's now a curve node. And I can choose to have it a symmetrical node or a smooth node, and we're going to go symmetrical, which is the little arch with a straight line on the top. So we'll left click and make them symmetrical nodes. Now they're all curved. If we left click on, click off so none are selected, and click on one node, we can see it's got arrows on both sides, and we can actually extend those arrows to change the amount of curve. Unfortunately, you can't do that on all of them, so the amount of curve here really is defined, if I undo that, by the length of the points and the number of points. So if you want this curve to be fatter and shorter, you would have to make your star have shorter points to start with. So there's so many options you can play around with to change the actual finished look, but we'll just get the technique down and then you can play to your heart's content. So I want to play around with all of these nodes now to create a more interesting design. Now I only want to play with the outside nodes, so I need to select those. Now you could select one node, and this little arrow here is a node as well. It's just the arrow indicates the direction of the line, and that it's the start and end point. So I could select that node, and then to select additional nodes you hold your control key down and they all stay selected as you click on them. Okay, so I could go around and select all those nodes. Whoops, I've lost my tool. Okay, the other option is to box select some of the nodes, and then if you hold your shift key down you can box select more nodes without losing the first selection. But if you continue to hold your shift key down and select these ones that actually join up with the first ones, the shift key selects everything in between. So then you need to hold your control key down to select those two nodes. Okay, whichever way you do it, get all your outer nodes selected. And then we've got this fantastic tool up the top here, which looks like a circle or part of a circle with a little dot in the middle. And that is the skew or rotate nodes. If you left click on that, you'll get your rotation handles available. Your center of rotation is in the center by default, and you've also got skew handles here. So you can, I'll just show you various things you can do here. So you can rotate on the center, and this is what I'm going to use. So just rotate to your heart's content, and you can create a lovely design. If you rotate back a bit, the design will be a little bit different. So you can create lots of different designs depending on how much you rotate. I'll just undo both of those. The other thing you can do while that is active, I'll just make sure it's still active, is you can skew. So you can go with your skew handles and it will skew the design. Not all that pretty, but may have its uses. I'll undo that. And of course, whoops, I've lost my tool again. Just make sure you keep going back up, and I've lost the selection. That's what the problem is. I only want the outer nodes, don't I? Quickly reselect those and those. Okay, and now I can get my rotate and skew. The other thing is you can move your point of rotation. So I could move my point of rotation to there and then skew, and you can see that it will skew in a different way. So there's lots of options, but I'm going to keep it simple and keep the center of rotation in the middle, which I'm sorry, if you move it back, you should get the word center come back up in the middle there, and then rotate to your design choice. Don't like that one, I'll come back a little bit. Alright, now if I click off, if we look, this design is going to start stitching here where this little arrow is and finish there. Now if you want to move that point, you will need to cut the design and create a start and end point for yourself where you want it to start and finish. So it's entirely up to you, but for the Freemotion couching, I like to have a cut somewhere in the middle here where it's not on a nice smooth little point here. I don't want to have to be threading through my thick threads through the fabric on a point like this, but with quilting it's entirely up to you. That might be fine, although you will see your tie-ins and tie-offs a little bit, so you might want to move it somewhere which is less obvious. So wherever you decide you want your start and ends, if you come over here, let's go to the select tool again, so we're selected, and then if you come down to your eraser tool, there's a fly out button there and there's a knife in there. So if you get your knife, you can choose to start and end here, for instance. So you just left click and drag a line across where you want to cut the design, and you'll see there's a little block there now, and that means that there's now 2 nodes there where it's going to start and end. And if you look around, or if I go to my Reshape tool, my start and end arrows are here now. I haven't got any arrows out on the points. And if I zoom right in, you can actually grab one of those arrows and move it aside, and I've just got to wait for that to catch up. Okay, so it's done it now, so you can see that there is a gap there. Now it's up to you then whether you make that gap bigger, if you want to join another. I've undo that. I don't know what I just did then, but I must have deleted that by mistake. You might want to make this gap bigger and join another design in, or whatever. That's entirely up to you. Okay, so I'm going to, what I should have done is kept a copy of this, so I'm just going to quickly make another one so that I can show you the 2 differences. So I'll just undo that also so that that's no longer spread apart. Okay, so we've still got my start and end there, but they're not, they're butting up against each other. So I'll click off. Now I'll quickly make another one. So I'll get my star, hold my control key down, and draw myself a star. I'm going to right click on the star and convert to curves. Then I'm going to go to the Reshape tool and I'm going to select all the nodes and convert them to curved nodes up here. And then I'm going to click off. I'm going to select those top 3 nodes with my block select, hold my shift key down and select these bottom 3 nodes because they're not next to the other nodes, so nothing in between will select, and then hold my control key down to select those 2 nodes. And I'm going to make them smooth nodes. Okay, and I'm going to leave that as it is. But I will put a cut in. Oh, well, I can't put the cut in yet actually. Oh yes, I will. I'll put the cut in. So I'll get my knife. And cut through there. Alright. So I'll go back to the select. Actually, I won't put that cut in. I'll undo. I can cut this in the embroidery. Alright. So I'll get my select tool and I want to convert both of these to embroidery. So select them both and click on the convert button. So I have up here the original one, which can make a quilt design. I could also turn that into a Freemotion couching simply by clicking on the Freemotion couching tool down the bottom, and that's what it's going to look like, Freemotion couched. Now with the bottom one, oh, they were both selected, that's now Freemotion couching as well. I'll click off, I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to use the morphing twirl. And I can move this slider along to twirl it as much as I can. Now, depending on the original shape, you may or may not get lines crossing over and how big it is and so forth. So you are limited with your twirling here to the range that is offered, whereas with the art canvas you can twirl a full 360 degrees if you want to, so you've got more options there. Now to change your start and end points here, so if I go to the Reshape tool, I can't do it after I've twirled, so I don't even know where it's starting and ending. I have to use the knife tool and create it myself. So in the edit toolbox we've got a knife tool and we can cut where we want to start and end. Okay, and that has actually squared off these points a little bit too. It's not as pretty, so I actually like playing in the art canvas to get my shape first, more than I do using the twirl tool here in the morphing effects in the embroidery canvas. So once again, if you want to know more about Freemotion couching, and also there's a little bird design, and there's also the design I showed you covered in that Zoom meeting recording. The link is below for you to access that. Hope you have fun playing with this.